Do you support cross-sex hormones for young teenagers?
Gender-affirming hormones should be used when that child or teenager, adolescent, is ready for the puberty that aligns with their gender identity.
How young?
Again, Professor Appleby is against the view of the experts, the proper experts who've worked in the field. You laugh at me, but...
Well, I laugh because anybody's an expert that agrees with you, but if they don't agree with you, they're not an expert. Do you support cross-sex hormones for young teenagers?
Gender-affirming hormones should be used when that child or teenager, adolescent, is ready for the puberty that aligns with their gender identity.
How young would you say that could be?
Well, puberty starts at 8 or 9, or in people with ovaries, 11 or 12 in people with testicles.
So then?
But at that time, it's up to that child. How emotionally ready are they to undertake the puberty of their real gender rather than their birth gender?
But that is the bit that certainly isn't reversible.
Did you hear that language? People with testicles and people with ovaries, number one, and what aligns with the child's gender identity. Puberty blockers should be given to what aligns with the child's identity. This person is a wingnut of a doctor, I'm going to show you right now. Thank you for coming back to the channel. Thank you for subscribing, liking. Thank you for being here. You guys are really helping this channel grow like mad. It's so awesome. I know they keep trying to demonetize me, but let me just say something. Thank you all so much for giving me all the gifts. It just means so much to me. I'm not taking those videos down. I refuse. We'll get into that later, but here's what I want to say. I just really value your support and that you see what I'm doing here, saving these children from insane doctors like this. So this lady is crazy, and I want to show you the rest of this interview right here. It was on the UK Times radio. It's a great interview because she just shows all her. Before we move forward on that, I'm going to tell you that she also had lost her license to practice medicine because of her sketchiness. And she's a UK doctor, and she lost her license. And I'll get into that a little bit after a little bit more of this interview here.
And so you're letting kids, let's call them kids, age 10, 11, take medication which is irreversible.
Well,
that's right, isn't it?
The changes of puberty are irreversible. And actually, if a cisgender child, a child that's not transgender, if they get to 14 and they haven't started puberty yet, we as doctors start getting very worried about that. And transgender children are no different. We need them to be...
Lady, they're a big difference. I hate when they say cisgender children are children. Okay. And yeah, if a kid is, which is a very rare thing, by the way, puberty doesn't kick in, they do like to give a medication. It is not necessarily necessary to do that, by the way. That is the choice of the doctor. And sometimes puberty is late. I want to remind you that my puberty was late as a child. Okay. But it came later on. Okay. So they have some idea that if a kid doesn't have puberty as long with everyone else, they're going to lose their minds or something bad's going to happen. That is not a scientifically sound space. That is more of a opinion from a doctor that a child should be doing puberty with everybody else. So I'm not sure if my kid was not having normal puberty like everybody else. I'm not sure if I would give my child puberty blockers to push it. I just don't know if I would do that because of knowing everything I know now about medicine and how can be irreversible effects in the long run. I just kind of would like to see nature take its course. So there they are again, throwing that cisgender kids use it. Like what? No, sorry, your argument doesn't work. Not buying it.
In puberty, with their peers, with their friends, experiencing those body changes, the body development, they need to be doing that in line with everybody.
But Child C changed her mind before it was too late. It was a lucky escape from the prescriptions from you.
Child C was a boy, and Child C, was given puberty blockers, and great thing about puberty blockers before hormones is it gives you a chance to see what's going to happen. It gives you a pause.
I knew it. I knew she was going to use that word pause. We have done research. That is not true. You cannot pause puberty. That is an actual lie. She's lying. The doctor is lying. It's not pausing. When you supposedly pause that, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. I'm sorry. I'm going to calm it down a little bit here. It just makes me so mad when medical people lie about this stuff. These are children we're talking about. Children, okay? So when you stop this supposedly puberty that's in the wrong body, you're never getting that time back, okay? Ever. So no, you're not pausing puberty. You are stopping puberty. Big difference, lady. Big difference.
Gives you time, which is what Child C benefited from greatly. We don't know where Child C is now. And the fact that Child C was able to say, can you pause my puberty? And then actually, I'm not sure. And then can you pause it
in
again?
time
Is really important.
If she'd waited much longer, it could have been too late. I mean, Kira Bell is probably the most well-known detransitioner. She recalls, she says this: I was adamant that I needed to transition. It was the kind of brash assertion that's typical of teenagers.
Yes.
I mean, isn't it the job of adults and clinicians like yourself to understand that truth and focus on preventing young people from ruining themselves and mutilating themselves until they are old enough to really take a decision about their future, not encourage them at that age?
Nobody's encouraging them. And, you know, the emotive words that you use, such as mutilation and sexual dysfunction in infertile, you know, these are words that we use to criticise, to try and withhold care from.
No, that's not true. That is not true. Those are actual words coming out of the mouths of actual detransitioners, lady. They actually say it themselves. The detransitioners, like, I feel mutilated. I feel that I was given the wrong information. I don't feel that I was given enough time to make these choices. And that's what they're saying it. The actual people who actually were given the medications and the surgeries. So you don't like it because it's challenging your idea that children are trans.
Transgender people. But what you have to understand is that the risks and the dangers of withholding care are very clear.
Why?
Because the suicide rate, the self-harm rate, the rates of poor mental health, the rates of poor...
Okay, I've had it with these people. The fact that I even have to say that about young people, there is no statistics and there is no rate of the unaliving. It's not true. It's not happening. Maybe they have ideation, but the actual act of the unaliving is not happening. And here's the gross thing about it, everybody. These doctors like this and this trans activist community, they're putting that in little people's heads. They're putting that in their heads that, oh, maybe unaliving yourself will be better because you're not going to get your medication. I think they're like putting it into the air and talking about, because it is not happening. But let's be clear here. It's not happening now. But the more we have detransitioners, the more this could start to happen, because you gave this so-called medicine to young people who should have never, ever been in this space, because we have crazy doctors like this.
Educational outcomes, poor life satisfaction scores, those are extremely well documented.
Well, are they? Because the definitive study in this is Professor Lewis Appleby from Manchester University. And his study showed that when the puberty blockers could no longer be used by the Tavistock Clinic, and I think the Portman was another clinic, there was no increase in the rate.
There.
Well, again, Professor Appleby is against the view of the experts, the proper experts who've worked in the field. And you laugh at me, but...
Because anybody's an expert that agrees with you, but if they don't agree with you, they're not an expert.
Right on, dude.
Professor Lewis Appleby is a well-renowned academic.
He just moted her so hardcore. That's right, lady. If you don't like what you're hearing, all of a sudden they're just against it. No, that's called studies. That's called the things that you're not releasing because you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear that those puberty blockers don't work. And all the evidence, all the actual scientific evidence shows that puberty blockers don't work. Again, my last video, I showed you that they did a study, okay, at Oxford sexual health, where it showed that none of this stuff actually helps the anxiety and the depression of these young people, and that surgery is not the best thing to do, as well as the study that was not released from the Los Angeles Children's Hospital here, okay, that was hidden and was not shown because the outcome did not go with what these wingnut doctors are trying to push.
His study was thorough. He went through it. He chose the clinics that had been using puberty blockers. It was to test the claim of people like you that by not doing what you're doing, there will be more suicides. It's a perfectly legitimate thing for you to say and to be studied. And the facts did not establish, stand up what you had said.
But people like me, medics like me, we go to the medical research.
No, you
and
don't.
We look at the medical research. And the medical research for transgender children who are denied gender-affirming care is clear. There is a very high rate of even one child's is too much.
Oh, there it is right there. Even one. So what I feel like is she's using one. And of course, one is enough. I 100% agree. We should never have that happen. But don't you dare say in plural that this is happening like a genocide, or that all these young people are offing themselves. That is a complete total lie, and it's disgusting. It is actually disgusting that you would even put that out there like it's a real thing. Now, I'm so emotional. I'm just, my seat is hot. My sweats are sweaty, okay? Because I'm just so thoroughly over these nonsensical people. Let me just give you a little background on Dr. Webley. Is that how you pronounce her name? Weberly, Dr. Weberly. Okay. So she had a clinic called Gender GP that was just throwing out the hormones and the puberty blockers to these young kids without any parental say so. And so here, and this is out of Wikipedia. Okay. So Wikipedia says the Telegraph published 2 investigative articles critical of Gender DP in February 2021. The first article reported that the clinic was willing to prescribe testosterone to an undercover reporter posing as a 15-year-old trans boy without needing parental consent. The second article stated that 2 undercover reporters posing as the parents of a 12-year-old trans might be able to get a prescription for puberty blockers following the reporters having 2 appointments with a counselor and 1 with a doctor. Although the child was not present, the report also stated that 12-year-old would need to have a few appointments with a counselor. Responding to the investigations, Gender DP said that its doctors had the ultimate authority on all treatments, and that the clinic follows a stage, not age approach, referring to stage of puberty when providing healthcare to trans youth. Okay. So on February 24, the Telegraph reported that the Clinical Commission Group for Southeast London had issued a safety alert advising doctors not to prescribe puberty blockers or gender-affirming hormone therapy on the advice of Gender DP, as the clinic does not provide psychological or physiological support to its patients. Don't forget what I actually told you as well, was that that also that article, I'm going to keep going back to that study, that the number one thing that anyone who has puberty blockers, hormones, any medical intervention, they need to have long-term healthcare follow-up. They're not even giving that. So now I'm going to show you this. This is so insane. Look at this. My online gender clinic has 10,000 patients. Demand is huge. Dr. Helen Weberly, the Gender GP founder, on the CAST report, her battle with the establishment and why she supports the continued use of puberty blockers. How can you have 10,000 patients just for gender medicine? That is actually absurd. That should actually have us all alarmed. 10,000 patients for a gender clinic. And a lot of them are really young people. So here's her clinic, right? So her clinic is Gender GP. And it says Dr. Helen Weberly answers facts about the withdrawal of her license to practice. She had her license removed because They figured in July 24, the GMC Register withdrew Dr. Helen Weberly's license to practice when it came time for her routine evaluation because she's a sketchy doctor who was giving puberty blockers. Then her clinic got closed, right? And that you know that her clinic is out of Singapore. Her clinic runs out of like that's where it's registered in Singapore. So she's such a sketch. She's sketch. Okay, so I'm gonna show you something now. Okay, because she thoroughly believes that puberty blockers and children are trans and that they all need to have this or they're all going to unalive themselves, and she's just pushing she's making so much cash off these kids, it's totally disgusting. And you know, there's some of those people who just get in a mindset and they're not going to ever let anybody discount. There's those kind of doctors who refuse to look at any other kinds of studies. I don't really know what her end game is, but she's a creep. So listen to this. Is actually going to break your heart. I apologize for it.
An entire life that should have been mine. That was my birthright. I don't know how this happened to me. And I'm just so angry. I'm so sad. I just don't know how this happened. Like a virus or something, it just like infected me, and it happened so quickly. It was like I was right there, like agreeing to every single thing, and I don't know how that happened. That now I can sit here and like look back and be like, why did I do that? It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. If I just would have waited. If I just waited.
This child, so it says there, this is trans ideology. This was a trans child. She went all the way. Look at her arm. She has cuts on her arm, and she has hit the 8-year mark in workup to regret, as research shows. This is trans ideology.
If I just would have waited and let myself heal. I can't have kids. I'll never lose my virginity. Like, I feel like I'm left to just like accept the scraps of the life that I could have had. I had this full life that I'm now having to mourn while also living in the present moment with the life that like feels just like the scraps of what could have been. I don't know how to be happy in that. You know, I don't know how to be okay with that. I hate when people are like, everything happens for a reason. Like, no, this didn't happen for a reason. You know, it's just a tragedy. Just call it what it is. I don't want to use the word indoctrinated, but I was young and I was sad and I was impressionable and I thought that this would fix everything. I don't know what to do with, like, any of it. I think I just feel a lot different also, though, from most detrans girls or detrans women, detrans girls and women, because I've had bottom surgery. Every girl I know has it, you know, and they still have this part of it. And I don't have that. Like, I don't have anything anymore. It's just so sad. Like, it just sucks so bad. This is just something I'll have to live with. You know, there's like no fixing it. There's no making it better. I have to live like this for the rest of my life and figure out a way to be okay with it. I'm not making this video for like sympathy or anything. It's just I'm wanting to express what's honestly going on.
If that doesn't bring you to tears, then something's wrong. That's why I wanted to show you that after I played that Dr. Weberly's disgusting idea of puberty blockers. This poor woman who started 8 years ago with all the medications, testosterone, masculizing herself, becoming trans, even having this surgery and the bottom surgery, is just 8 years later. 8 years. So it's not true that once these young people get on this and they will be like that forever. We are seeing more and more of these young kids get into these situations and regretting it. And why are we not really just shutting the whole system down? Shut it down. Okay. Every single one of you kids can wait. You can wait until you are either old enough to truly understand what you're about to do to yourself, like myself, and other adult transsexuals, or you're just going to have to deal with it. And we've got to come to this situation where we are teaching these kids to understand why they feel this way about themselves. And mental health care, when we have wingnut doctors lying about how this helps, when we are showing an increase in detransition, okay, and an increase in young girls having what they call top surgery with scars and no nipples and Yankee and weird and just disfiguring, disfigurement. That is disfigurement. I have one more to show you here.
How did it start? Is it puberty blockers is how it starts?
Yeah, that was the very first intervention that I was put on. And that was when I was 13 years old, about halfway through my 8th grade year.
Walk us through that. What does it feel like? I mean, when do you first start noticing effects?
It was awful.
Really?
Because
Wow.
I was already a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years into puberty by that point. The way that puberty blockers work is that they block the production of sex hormones by the body. So I was basically put into a state of artificially induced menopause. And I actually started to experience menopause-like symptoms like hot flashes, full body itching. I would wake up every day just wishing for the next big thing, which was testosterone, because I wanted it to stop. I was super low energy, very lethargic throughout the day. It made it kind of difficult to focus in school and on my studies.
Chloe Cole, one of the most famous, what a horrible thing to be famous for, detransitioners, who was, I think she said, put on puberty blockers at 8, okay, and really just destroyed her body. I don't think she can reproduce. I don't think she even feels any sexual feelings towards people, which I have interviewed a couple of detransitioners who were also young and put on puberty blockers. Same thing. They said they have no sexual feelings. They've never experienced sex or orgasms or the feeling of being attracted to other people. What? And then that doctor, you guys, this is actually just mind-blowing to me that we would do this to young people. And everyone's just acting like this isn't happening. This isn't happening. It's 100% happening. So the same thing that doctor says about if only one kid unalives itself. Well, hey, lady, how about if only one kid detransitions? Okay, what's better, a detransitioner or a kid or a kid? I mean, or a kid who gets puberty blockers? What are you talking about? What are you're making zero sense. That lady is in it for the money. I can't imagine, or maybe she's just evil. I've been researching evil and this and how are we getting this space. My last video about cult-like behavior and religious stuff and getting sucked up into a group thought, banality of evil. The banality of evil. It really, I looked it up because I really thought it was such a fascinating, the banality of evil is a concept coined by Hannah, and it describes, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce her last name, Ardent, to describe how ordinary people can be complicit in evil acts. Ordinary people can become complicit in evil acts because somehow they think they're just maybe doing the right thing, or they're not thinking about everything. This is literally, to me, it feels so much like the banality of evil, and people are just going with it because stuff like this cannot happen unless a lot of people are involved in it. So with that, thank you all so much for helping me get these videos made. Thank you for seeing my intentions here. I'm really, again, trying not to cry, but those kids deserve better. Those kids deserve a life of happiness, not a life of surgery and hormones. And they're just going to regret everything. And then maybe they're going to unalive themselves because none of us stood up for these kids. Okay? So I hope you can hear me, and I hope that me and you together can start to break through this insanity and get these crazy wingnut doctors out of this medical space before it becomes too big and we won't be able to dismantle it. So with that, I hope that you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for watching.